ETFinalScore.com has East Texas high school sports covered. And now you can take it with you. Get the latest scores from Friday Night Football, articles and videos. Focus in on Dotney photo galleries and more. So don't miss a thing and get your ETFinalScore.com app today.
Hello and welcome to our ETFinalScore.com Junior College Football Show. I'm Joe Buie, and joining me as he has all season is Phil Hicks, who covers the area JUCOs. Well, Phil, before we talk about the conference championship game, let's take a look back at last week's semifinal games.
Well, that was really two good ball games, Joe. First, Tyler in northeastern Oklahoma played up in Miami, Oklahoma, and Tyler got behind 34-7, so it looked like they were out of the picture. And even Tyreek Rollison, who's one of the standout quarterbacks in the nation, got hurt. So you think, well, their season's over. But the Apaches did rally and had a chance to tie in the second half with a two-point conversion, but they didn't, and they lost 37-35. Lamar Caraway came in, a freshman from Lake Providence, Louisiana, and he led them to the comeback along with their standout receiving core they have.
Well, what type of quarterback is Caraway? What does he do well compared to what Rollison does well?
Well, he has a great arm. He's not the rocket arm that Rollison has, but he is more mobile. And not that Rollison wasn't. Rollison can run, but Caraway is more of maybe a Michael Vick type that can run and pass, and he makes things happen. You know, he's also their punt returner, kickoff returner.
So while the Apaches had two just crazy games against NEO this year.
Yes, the first one was a double overtime here in which they had a Hail Mary that tied it up, and they won 65-59, and then almost an incredible comeback by the Apaches.
True. And I guess we should say that in the history of the rivalry between the Apaches and Golden Norsemen, they've been known to have some really outlandish games in Miami.
They have. It's just incredible. I know you've covered some of them, and I've been up there before. And I don't know, when they get together, I think they think they're representing, which I know they are, Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah. It's like a little mini Longhorn Sooner rivalry.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Phil, how about the Kilgore-Navarro game? Tell you, it really surprised me how lopsided that one was.
Well, Joe, when you look at it, it was close until the fourth quarter. Okay. And Navarro opened it up with 22 fourth quarter points. Now, the key was this time Kilgore kind of shut down the running game of Navarro, which, you know, with Shedd and Middleton. I mean, they still did well, but Stump Godfrey from Gilmer stepped up. He was like 17 of 18.
Wow. One
of his best outings of the year for 259 yards. And it really was a close game, but, you know, as turnovers go, they kind of Navarro took advantage and scored those points in the fourth quarter.
So I guess, Navarro had pretty much been a running team, so Kilgore decided to make Godfrey try to beat him, and he actually did it.
Yes, Kilgore's defense had played well all year. You know, they've been the surprise team, and they kind of, I guess that was their plan to shut him down, but Godfrey came through and for this game.
All right. And so, Phil, now let's take a look at the championship game coming up on Saturday, the conference championship game between Navarro and NEO, which is 1 p.m. Saturday in Miami, Oklahoma.
That should be an interesting matchup because they just played like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And NEO got out to kind of not a big lead, but a lead. And the kicker for Navarro, Short, he spells his name differently, but he actually missed, I believe it was a 47-yard field goal that would have won the game, and NEO won 26-24. So that's why they're playing in Miami instead of Corsicana this week. If he'd made that, then theoretically Navarro would be hosting this week. And
NEO is undefeated at home, right?
Right. They have not, but they've won 2 straight 2-point games, so they're getting close, but they are undefeated.
So looking at Navarro, they already avenged their regular season loss to Kilgore, so they're looking to do the same.
They are. They've done well in the playoffs the past few years. I think they're defending champs, so they seem to play well on the road or at home. So
it seems like Navarro's really showing their true colors as far as the dominant team that we're used to seeing Navarro be. They've actually won the conference championship the last 2 years. So, you know, they change coaches, but they never change their winning ways here lately.
I think the key might be if Godfrey has another good game, because I've seen him a couple times, and he's been fairly well, but not stand out like he was last week, and that could be the key. And then, of course, NEO, they're kind of balanced, but the problem is the NEO defense is ranked lower part of the league, and so that could be, if all things equal, then Navarro may win.
True. All right, Phil, do you have a prediction?
Well, I've been going back and forth on this because I figured with NEO there at home unbeaten, and then I kind of think Navarro might pull it out if Godfrey has another good game, because they got the running attack that can slash through the Gordon Norseman, of course, and Navarro's defense is pretty good, and if they shut down the Golden Norseman, I think they might take it this time.
Now, we've talked about this on past shows, but I think we need to mention again the job that Dell Patterson has done at NEO this year. Just looking back over their records, I see where this is NEO's first time to even be in the playoffs in 6 years, and before this year they hadn't even been ranked in 7 years, and they went back to a coach who came who in his first stint was 60-26 at NEO. And if you could mention again kind of a little bit of Dell Patterson's history.
Yes, he was an All-American at NEO as a player, and then he came back to coach them and kind of got that program back to where it was in the 50s and 60s. And then he left to go to Oklahoma State, become director of football operations. And then this program had slid so far down, there was actual discussion about dropping it, which is, they are kind of isolated there because the Kansas schools will not let them in their conference up there. So the only other conference they can be in is the one in Texas. And that's a lot of travel for them. I mean, for teams here too, but he wanted to come back and see if he can get that back on track, and he certainly has done the job.
And then on the Navarro, Nick Bobeck left after coaching there at Navarro several years and being extremely successful. I believe he went to a Division II NCAA school in Oklahoma, replaced by Brian, is it Maper?
Maper, yes.
Okay.
And he's done a kind of course, Canada, I'm not sure what kind of pipeline they got there, but they got it going. And they get a lot of transfers that really always seem to pan out.
For example, Traylon Shedd this year.
Shedd, yeah, exactly.
It's always somebody.
It's always in Stump Godfrey, because and they always hit on them, or it seems like it. And they got a good pipeline. They've kind of taken that transfer like basketball does. There's a lot of transfers in basketball, and they've really made it work in football.
All right, Phil. Anything else we need to cover?
Well, there's a number of bowl games. I do know Kilgore, even though they're not in the championship game, they're finished 8-2, but they're going to get a bowl bid next week. It's going to be announced on Tuesday. And of course, the winner of the game on Saturday between NEO and Navarro, they're supposed to go to the Heart of Texas Bowl in Coppers Cove. Now, I'm not sure. There's sometimes deals are worked out, and there's also a new bowl at Kyle Field in College Station, the Brazos Valley Bowl. So it's possible one of these Texas teams, either Navarro or Kilgore, might go, or NEO might go to one of the Kansas. There's a couple bowls just right across the border. NEO is about 8 miles from Kansas, so there's one in Pittsburgh and another city, and then there's 2 games up in Iowa. So there's a number of bowl games at the. But since Apache's finished 5-5, they won't be bowling this year.
Okay, all right. And ranking-wise, national ranking, I believe NEO is number 4, if memory serves me correctly, and Navarro is number 9 going into this weekend.
Right. It's a top 10 matchup.
Top 10 matchup.
And that's a respect that this conference has, because they're known for their play, and they usually beat up each other. But this year, it's kind of the top 3 teams kept minimal losses.
Yeah. Well, Phil, just kind of wrapping up, what do you think, now that the season's been played out, there's 1 game left in the, until the bowls, what would you say the biggest surprise, in your opinion, in the conference was this year?
Well, I'd have to go with Kilgore, although NEO is a big surprise.
Maybe a close second.
Yeah, a close second, because Kilgore was not picked to finish in the top 4, and they've had, I believe, 3 straight losing seasons. That had to be the top one, and then NEO, with the way I thought they would be better this year, but I didn't know they would tie for the championship. And then I thought that as far as entertainment value in this conference was so great. It was like a major college with the quarterbacks they have in this league now.
Right.
So it's very entertaining each week.
All right, thanks, Phil, for your insight. And thanks for joining us, and be sure and check back next week when we'll talk about the bowl games.